excited to have you. Would quickly introduce you. Shawn is a CMO at Paragon Footwear at the moment, but he's worked with best respected brands such as Raymond's, Aditya Birla, Samsonite, and so on. He has been in the business of creating brands, growing them, and only creating a lot of impact in the space of consumer products. Shawn, we are so excited to have you on board today. At Magic Bus, we believe so much in the power of purpose. I will quickly jump onto the questions if that's okay, Shawn. How are you today?
Yes, thanks, Priti. It's a great privilege to be part of this discussion. I'm obviously aware of Magic Bus, and we're partnering some way. And on a personal note, I've been, trying my little in my little small way to support Magic Bus and your initiatives for a long time. So, really thrilled to be here and be part of this conversation.
I'm so glad you said that because, I mean, before I really start the conversation or the questions, I really wanted to make this point to everyone that, a lot of time purpose led marketing or cause marketing or anything that there's so many names to it. When we talk about that, it most of the time, I wouldn't say all the time, is sort of nice to have situation. And unless the CMO, the CEO, CFO, everyone at the managerial level or the top management level who are making decisions, unless themselves don't feel about it themselves, having that purposeful life in them, it's really tough to sort of bring it on the P&L sheet. So that's sort of a context I wanted to, and I know Shawn for the fact that you yourself are extremely passionate about giving back to society. You are extremely keen to keep looking at strategic partnerships with NGOs and social impact side, and that's something I really personally appreciate.
Thank you.
Over
Thank
to
you.
over to
I mean,
the
we try to do a little bit whatever we can. I'm sure it's not enough, but at least, at least I try.
most important. Um, as you know, this is going to be a fun dialogue about the importance of purpose-led marketing. Shawn, I would like to understand from you is you worked with such respected brands in India. I mean, come on, Raymond's is such a household name, Samsonite, so many such fantastic brands. What does it mean for you as a leader in the world of marketing and communication when we talk about purpose led marketing? What does that mean for you?
So it's a big word, purpose. Whether it's personally on an individual level or as a company or as a brand, to define your purpose and to chase that consistently it's a tall task. Um, for me, in from a marketeer's point of view, purpose is something where brands tend to be authentic about who they are and what they have to offer to the not just the consumer but the society at large. It's also a long-term commitment which brands kind of carry throughout their existence. It's not something. It's not a tactical thing. Like you said, it's not just for PR. It is not just for a short-term goal or to achieve some short-term objectives like some sales or ROI-driven, activities which we are. Our favorite term is marketers' terms ROI. So this is not ROI driven in my view. It is more long term. It needs to come from within, and it needs to encompass the entire organization. So it's not just a CMO sitting in, and talking about it through marketing campaigns, communication platforms, or PR or whatever, or maybe even just the CEO or the CMO. So it has to and encompass the entire organization, whether it's from marketing to production, sales, every aspect of the every department, and it should ideally flow down to the last mile. So something like at literally at the like I come from a retail background. Purpose-driven brands, it reflects even in the way they conduct themselves with consumers at the store level. So even the store staff at a retail counter has a certain understands the purpose of the organization and reacts in that way to with consumers. So that is what really makes a difference. And it's a like I said, it's a very tall task. Um, um, Very few organizations I think manage to do this in a really meaningful way, but those who do, I'm sure it makes a big difference to their brand journey, makes a difference to the consumers, to society, and these are the kind of brands which actually I think hold that kind of trust amongst their consumer base. So eventually, if you look at it, this will obviously pay off to the brand and the organization in the long run, and the ROI that we were talking about, where I was referring to, will be met in some way. So it's actually, I would say, being purpose driven is also good business for your balance sheet, not just for you know just to show off your CSR capabilities.
Very well said. In fact, the ROI, I mean, very often I sort of tell my team the ROI is also a responsibility of the investment, right? Um, while you have the return, but how you getting it? What are you doing about it? I mean, I think what I hear you saying, and it's so interesting and inspiring that um, it is not at a campaign level. It's not at a one back to school campaigns coming, let's do something tactical. Of course, as marketers we do things tactical, but my PR head keeps calling purpose the zeroth P of all the 5 P's, your price, product, place, promotion, and positioning. We believe that the purpose really comes at the zero. You really have to start from there and move to all the other P's for the organization as well as the brand that is in the making. And therefore, everyone has to be on the same page, which is really important. So, my next question to you, therefore, is that how do you keep what is there a formula at Paragon or any other brands that you've worked with? If you could give some examples of having some relevant yet consistent purpose-led campaigns, marketing or communication, or anything that you sort of led or executed, because a lot of times as you said correctly, it's not a PR exercise. So how does one sort of keep this authentic, relevant, consistent, while ensuring the regular world of ROI and business as usual?
Um, See, thing is that it's always extremely difficult to balance, as a as an organization or even as a marketer, the objectives, the business objectives, as opposed to purpose led objectives, which go beyond just uh, ROI, or go beyond just getting a business outcome, like in terms of monetary benefits, because a lot of purpose led marketing campaigns are not something that will actually generate any your deliver on short term business goals. So um, while you can do some cause related marketing efforts here and there, but purpose is much more large, much larger in terms of scope and in terms of what the organization is trying to achieve, and it basically reflects the organization's personality. A couple of one example that comes to my mind is something that I did with the Raymond Group. This The Raymond Group has been doing this government exchange program for a long time now. It started in 2016, and I was fortunate enough to be part of the team, the pioneering team, which actually started this initiative. So Raymond Group has been doing a lot of CSR activities. Of course, they have a JK Trust, which deals in animal husbandry, a lot of rural activations, support to the agricultural community, etc. That's a different vertical altogether. But from as a business, what we kind of embarked on in 2016, it was at that point was just a pilot project. Was how do we kind of balance, like I said, balance the business objectives and our obligation to society. So one of the things that we embarked on is the government exchange program, which continues to this day. The basic premise was we all have, for example, garments or anything. I mean, maybe durables or whatever that we would like to give away and make space in our lives, in our wardrobes, in our homes. And Indians love exchange, right? I mean, we want to exchange everything in our lives. So we thought that why not we give people an opportunity to kind of exchange as well as recycle and reuse, and make a difference in a small way in the lives of people. So we tied up with Goonj, and I believe they are still a partner with Raymond in this initiative. Goonj, as you are aware, is a well-known organization. Does a lot of great work, especially with in the rural areas, especially when there are things like when there are floods and there are natural disasters. They have this cloth for work program wherein they don't just give the clothes for free, but they give it in in lieu of a particular task that people have to undertake, and that gives, like, it's more of a to reward people rather than give something free of cost. So we tied up with Gunj, and customers could come to our stores, exchange garments, and in return of that, of course, they would get some kind of monetary benefit on the stitching of a new garment. Now, the thing was, of course, there is a monetary benefit, but we saw that over a period of time, every year we would get many more customers who would come and give clothes, and our retailers also were happy to accept it because they knew that they were supporting a good cause. So the cause was quite important, or almost as, or probably more important than the business aspect. You know, and of course, and in the process, the business did some numbers, and was helpful in kind of achieving some business objectives, short term objectives. But being consistently doing this over a period of last few years has established this business, the fabric business, as a business which is more conscious about how we can contribute to society, and because there is a lot of effort involved in collecting those garments and then sending them to Gunj and keeping track of all those things. It's a big task. I mean, the simpler thing would have been for us to, if we have just done a promo, we could give a discount, like 50% off or 20% off or whatever, and get away with it. But the idea was not just to reward the consumer, but to do thing, and the consumer felt that they are part, or they are doing something good. So they also felt that a sense of accomplishment when they brought old garments, and they actually dug up to say, and they make sure that this goes to the right, and then because they trusted Raymond and they trusted Goonj, so they knew that it's going to the right source and not just being going to be dumped somewhere in a landfill or something. So that is something, that is an example of purpose-driven marketing done right, and it is a tick mark in terms of doing something for society, as well as kind of supporting the less privileged, as well as meeting some business objectives in the process. So and it also does a lot for the brand image. I mean, sure, Raymond has benefited whenever we have done brand studies. It's always come out that Raymond comes out as a brand which is trusted, and shows that it is um, benefited benefits, does something a lot more for society. uh, in Paragon, we have not managed to do a similar kind of consumer led a purpose-led initiative yet. But what Paragon has been doing successfully for the last many years is supporting education. We we have a CSR wing who support schools, refurbishes schools, and it's an ongoing basis. So we have our manufacturing plants in various parts of the country, mostly the south, and we support the community in and around the plant by supporting education, school refurbishments, and stuff like that. So there that is happening. We have not let's launched a marketing initiative or a purpose-led campaign as such, but this is something that has been going on successfully for the last few years.
Absolutely love the example. And I want to take away 2 points here, Sean. One of the most important point is, as you know, I also come from the world of for profit. I'm a crossover, and I absolutely understand the importance of business growth and continuity. So, I mean, frankly speaking, purpose-led marketing should definitely not be something that's one-sided. Should definitely not something that is just done as a tick mark, and it should definitely help the organization and the business objectives for the brand. Otherwise, the purpose of the overall activity also sort of gets diluted. And the second part that you spoke about. So first point that I really want to take away, and I also truly, totally, absolutely believe in, is that businesses have to grow, have to become big, and purpose-led marketing should be enabling that uh, objective, and not become like a stressful activity. I understand that when you have so many operational challenges when we do something like this, it's humongous, and it is not mostly spoken about, right? When you have uh, Gunj does some really good work, but when you have two brands coming together, there are operations involved, there are people involved, everything has to go well, and this so that whole coordination is just extremely important. And so I would say this to everyone who's listening to this particular conversation, that at Magic Bus we believe in actually making an effort and doing everything we do, very, very professionally. And to that point, it gets me to your second takeaway from the current conversation that we're having, is trust. um, you know Trust on all levels, right? When you do purpose led marketing, at the consumer side, one has to really believe, and don't have to think that, oh, whether this will be something really done, or is it shallow, or what. And therefore, when we're doing purpose led marketing, the kind of organizations the brand has to connect with is really very, very critical. You gave an example of Raymond and Gunj. Like I said, Gunj does really amazing work in the country today. Have created the reputation, and some incredible work. Um, and 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 that build of trust is really, really important. Coming to the part of trust, there was a study that I came across, Sean, that it says that Gen Zs and millennials, about 50 to around 60 odd percent of them, uh, believe in brands that believe in, social impact. Brands that are giving back, brands that are uh, coming up with ideas that are product level. They are not campaign level. And we can see there's so many new brands that have come up. uh, they are very environment conscious. They are sustainable brands. Right from the product, packaging, everything that they're talking, they're doing walk the talk. Yeah. So when the market shift is happening, Sean, and brands that you're working with, especially Paragon and so on and so forth. So, how does at on one side, as CMOs and as marketing and communication experts, we can see markets are shifting, people are, the behavior is shifting, and the way the people are buying products is also slightly shifting. um, how do you sort of discuss this and sort of bring in your CEOs and the decision makers, the CFOs, everybody on board, and say that, look, the category is being made, and it's important for us to sort of jump this ship soon. I would like to hear one or two, maybe live examples or something that you probably thought I will probably do this, um, on your side.
Tough one because no, simply because everybody wants. See, okay, sustainability is a buzzword, right? I mean, everybody talks about being sustainable, and then there's also the other aspect of greenwashing that we are all aware of. That
Yeah,
there are so many brands who talk about sustainability, but actually they're just greenwashing. And now even the government, I believe, is getting tough on these such so-called, the brands which are so-called sustainable and claiming to be sustainable, but are not really in the true sense of the word. Uh, and thanks to social media, etc., and democratization of of information, consumers also know. I mean, they also get a sense of whether you're genuinely sustainable or just trying to put on a facade. Um, it's a difficult conversation to have internally, simply because sustainability comes at a cost.
mm,
And in a world where we, especially in a category like ours, where we are very value conscious, as in, our consumers are very value conscious. They literally, there are, brands, they switch brands for a matter of few rupees here and there because of, obviously, we appeal to the our core TGs, the middle and the lower income groups. uh,
yeah,
it is it is a it is quite challenging to be sustainable, and to be genuinely sustainable, and to deliver consistent quality and results to our consumers. And this is not just us. I have seen this across. I mean, I spent more than a decade in the apparel industry. For viewers who don't know, the textile apparel or the textile fashion industry is the second largest polluter in the planet. Okay, period. After oil and gas, the next largest polluter is textile and fashion. So now we have to juxtapose, but like juxtapose the selling more clothes, as well as on the other hand, the more clothes you sell or the more textile you sell, the more fabric you sell, the more you're polluting the earth. Because so, like when I mentioned earlier, garment exchange was one of the measures to kind of encourage you to recycle more. Because that, unfortunately, in our country, recycling is not taken up the way it should have. But anyway, that let's keep that aside. So my point is that balancing, um, you know the balancing sustainable initiatives, which impact the environment, positively impact the environment, and the cost angle to it. Because ultimately what happens is that all this cost gets passed on to the consumer, right? And the consumer has to, it's a choice that the consumer has to make, whether should I go for a sustainable brand or a brand which is a little bit more environmentally conscious and sustainable, as opposed to a brand which is not so. um, you're very right with Gen Z, with younger audiences. This works very well. For us, the challenge is for brands, because we not just appeal, our core TG is not just the middle and low income group, but also the little older group.
mm,
So while they also
correct.
understand, they also appreciate. It's not just a Gen Z who understands these issues. Even the older audiences and consumers understand the impact on the environment, global warming, etc., climate change. But it's like that. How do I make stretch my money and make my money work? What do I do for the society and the environment at large, as opposed to, do I am I willing to pay a little bit more for a sustainable product. So this these and there's no right or wrong here. There's no black and white. It's always a gray area because we are trying to do the best that we can to conserve. So like in Paragon, we try and conserve. We like water treatment plants. We try and deal with our the raw materials, the more efficient disposal of raw materials, recycling of certain materials so that we can reuse and recycle while we're in the manufacturing process. Our biggest challenge is because we work in our core product is polymer, and polymer, as you know, it comes from crude oil. So
Yeah.
we are anyways, we have the challenge of being to be sustainable. It's a little bit of a challenge. We have taken a few initiatives at the packaging level, like we use recyclable plastic bags for especially for where e-commerce is concerned. So there are steps we are taking. We are also in the process of doing some your ECG audits to become more and implement more sustainable initiatives. These are the steps that have been taken. At the consumer level, I think the challenge for the consumer is that how to identify genuinely sustainable brands versus ones who are greenwashing and pulling a fast one in terms of their initiatives, and also making that little effort to be a little bit more conscious about how they where they shop, what they buy. um, I'm just keeping aside my marketeer's hat right now, and as an individual, as a citizen of this country and of the planet, um, do we really need to shop so much? Do we really need to buy so much? Is consumerism the right there's this crazy consumerism, is it the right way forward for us as a race, as a species, so to say? I might be talking counterintuitive to my profession, but at the end of the day, we are human beings, right? I mean, we are on the we're not just marketeers, and we are not just about everything's not about just our profession. It's also about being conscious about not just our lives, but also the future lives, the lives of generations to come. So this mad race to keep shopping, keep buying, consumerism, that is something that as consumers, as individuals, we need to think whether that is the right approach for us. Um, why aren't we more conscious about recycling and reusing? You know, why are we not doing it enough? I mean, I read one study of mobile phones. So this is a Statista fact that I got from Statista. India has a largest has the largest consumption of mobile phones, but in terms of how often we purchase a new phone. So in every other, so 4 out of 10 consumers buy a new phone before their existing phone, gives up. As in,
Is
so for
yeah.
example, your phone can last you 4 years or 5 years. You switch your phone every 2 years, 1.5 2 years. So what happens is that, and what happens to the old phone? You just discard it. Is there a process of recycling? Are you taking that effort to recycle that old phone? What is that? Where is that phone going? It's all harmful. It's harmful for the environment. Is it being disposed in the right manner? All these things matter. And India is way higher than any other country. I mean, way higher than Western countries, more developed countries. So then, what is this obsession of buying a new phone every year? Of course, it helps the mobile companies. So I'm sure Samsung and Nokia, I mean Xiaomi and everybody is very thrilled about it. Apple is very thrilled about it. But as a consumer, we need to think about that. I mean, I'm also guilty of that. I change my phone at least every 2 years, sometimes 3 years. But it made me conscious about what is it really worth changing these things just to keep up with trends and fashion and kind of keep up the appearance. Oh, I have the latest phone, I have the latest iPhone, or I have the latest camera, or whatever. So this is something that I think on a personal level, I think we need to really delve into, like, keep thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So many takeaways from this conversation, especially the one we had just now, Sean. I mean, you started with talking about, uh, when you're having conversations in the organization about being sustainable and in the real sense, I think it's I mean, in my opinion, it's absolutely fine to even start small. You're looking at packaging, you're looking at materials, you're looking at different areas of ESG, of course, and you know that's amazing because somewhere you have the intention, you have the inclination, and you're taking steps towards that. In my opinion, that's actually absolutely brilliant because you don't suddenly become a sustainable brand, right, or a purpose led brand, or you're doing huge purpose led marketing campaigns. It doesn't work like that. It's always smaller steps, like for example we're taking with you. These are really smaller steps where we start building the narrative together, start creating trust, building trust together, and then sort of get to a larger sort of activity, which of course, like I said, always have to look, we all have to really look at the business objectives. They have to meet for sure. Um, and the other takeaway that I can see is, the whole um, the world needs a minimalistic approach. I understand, and it's a difficult balance to find. Everyone wants it, but understands
That's
it.
my implement.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It is so tough. It is so tough, and I think you, me, all of us were also speaking about it. Also, sort of guilty, like you said. Um, uh, it is a tough one. It is a tough one, and I think as marketeers, we're all. I think more should be spoken about. Even if in communication, we should sort of create more. I would say nuggets or conversations where how it can be done. A lot of people are talking about this is needed, but not a lot of people talk about how this can be done. There are some really good companies coming up with reuse, recycle, and those sort of ethos. But I think the Indian world is slightly different, right? I mean, at least I was brought up saying that don't use old stuff, or you don't use somebody else's stuff.
Hand-me-downs is a negative, has a negative connotation, right?
Yeah, you know
Though
what I
I'm
mean.
wearing, refurbished stuff is, it's taking off in the West in a big way, but unfortunately, it's not taking off here because we just don't want to use refurbished, whether it's electronics or apparel. And I'll
And
just
it's
add
also
one more point to the what I was saying earlier, that about
sure.
quality, like um, in terms of consumerism. Okay, like we make really long lasting footwear, fortunately or unfortunately, and we've been told that your footwear lasts for too long. So consumers then no need to buy something for 2 years, and that's bad for business. Um, but people also want trendy stuff, so you are willing to compromise on the quality just so that you can buy some extra footwear or one two pairs extra in a year. In the good old days, when I say good old days, at least even in my when I in my youth, when I was growing up, you would buy like one or two pairs in a year, but you buy really good stuff which will last you for maybe 4 5 years. You know, which is whether it's clothes or footwear or any kind of products. But now it's especially where fashion and these categories are concerned, fashion categories, that you want to be you keep want to keep up with trends, so you don't mind spending less but buying more. You end up spending the same amount over a period of time. But so that the companies have to manufacture more stuff, right, and give you more variety. So variety is the name of the game.
Absolutely, and I think that's strategic to reduce the quality so that you have more and more sale happening of more. You know what I mean? Like fast fashion is
Yeah,
the way. But yeah, I mean, coming back to the whole recycle world, I think this is slightly more cultural, and it's sort of rooted in the way a lot of people think. It's not about what we buy, but it's about what we think about the overall how we look, and the overall consumerism. We've covered some really important points here, and I'm coming to the last question of the session. Quickly, if you could tell us what would you that one piece of advice you would like to give to all the marketers out there. How can they look at purpose-led marketing or a cause marketing for their brands and for their organization?
My advice to others is, and this is something that I try and follow it myself, is firstly, don't take the consumer for granted. If you are if you wish to be purpose led, and you are clear on your purpose and you wish to communicate it, and to the firstly, don't take them for granted. They are not fools. They understand a lot more than we give them credit for. Um, so being authentic is most important, because, like I said, they get it. Then they will call you out. And today's consumers are not the good of the past, where they would not you just let it go, and they would just they have, and so they have so many avenues to express themselves. So social media has played a very important role in calling out brands which are not genuine, which and we see that every day, right? I mean, many brands fall into a trap of doing something, thinking it's cool or authentic, and then being called out by consumers, and then it kind of snowballs into something really big, which becomes a crisis of sorts. So be genuine, be authentic, don't take the consumer for granted, and I mean, be simple in the the communication, and what you would like to communicate about your purpose. As in, um, I think many a time it's okay to not have a very grand purpose in life. Like everyone, all of us cannot change the world, but maybe we can take small steps and get there eventually. I'm looking at it as an individual. It's not like what I do outside of my work environment or my professional environment. I am I'm making a big difference, but maybe I'm doing some small things as an individual. So just like that, brands and organizations can make incremental changes and get there. Rather than trying to um, change the world or end wars. So that would be my advice.
This whole strategic partnership that we sort of look at Magic Pass, Sean, with brands like you and more other brands. Our idea is also power of collaborative, right? um, we One person can't, one brand, one organization can't do everything. Smaller steps we take together, we do things together, we come up with ideas together. More brilliant minds come up with more interesting ideas, and therefore activities and promotions, and therefore something which is fundamentally helping the society at large. So that's what we really believe in. There is power in collaboration. There is power in strategic partnerships, where looking at partners who have common goals, like-minded people who can come together. And I'm sure, and I completely believe in when such like-minded people, organization, brands come together, there is magic happening there. Thank you so much, Sean. It's always amazing to talk to you. Like I said, your way of thinking, your way of giving back to the society, your simplicity and the authenticity always have made me feel really, really. I'm awestruck. So nice to talk to you, and thank you for coming on this conversation.
Thank you, Preeti.
Uh,
It was really a pleasure being here on conversation, and very enlightening for me as well. I did some introspection before this to understand where, as a professional and as a person, where do I stand on purpose-led initiatives. So, thanks for having me.